so I have to show you my my cup this morning. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is maybe the creepiest one so far.
What is that? It looks like some like Alice in Wonderland character. That's just
It's
super
so
creepy.
angry. Yeah, and like look at it's like in suspenders and it has like I don't know, dude. Like it's just kind of creepy. So anyways, this is what I'm drinking my coffee out of this morning.
Nice. Love it. What are you putting in your coffee these days?
So fun fact, I realized that I cannot hmm, interesting discovery. Okay. So I realized that dairy and I don't get along, like specifically milk and I
Mm-hmm.
don't get along as much as I thought. And so my bulletproof coffee is what I prefer with a little butter in it, with like, my raw milk or whatever. But lately, my body's just kind of been like, nah, like I'm not really into it. And I've just felt like a little bit I don't even know how to, it's like an intuition thing. Like it just came out of nowhere.
Mm.
And I was like, I don't think milk is serving me right now. So I'm alternating between doing like a bulletproof coffee, like drip coffee with some butter, the raw milk, and a little bit of like stevia. And I'm now doing just like double espresso shot with my espresso
Mm-hmm.
machine. And I'm pouring that into my like Perrier or like bubble water. It doesn't have to be Perrier. It can be like any bubble water. It sounds really bougie. So I'm alternating doing that. And I'm trying to like limit my dairy to see if that kind of solves like my feeling of just how I am towards like milk right now. If
Yeah.
that makes sense. It's kind of weird. I don't can't explain it, but sometimes your body shifts. Have you ever had that?
Yeah, definitely. And like, because I've never ever put like milk in my bulletproof coffee, so it's kind of new to me that
Ooh,
you do that initially because the reason
yeah.
because butter is like pure fat. So obviously, if you put the milk in, you getting the lactose. Whereas butter has got like virtually, it's got very minimal lactose. I know
Yeah.
ghee has even less lactose, but
But here's
yeah.
the thing, I love milk. Like me drinking coffee, like there's like a Dutch saying that like the Dutch people drink their coffee for the milk, not for the coffee. So like
I can believe that.
that's kind of how I am. And like, oh my God, like I like look back to where like I guess having like three like lattes a day at one point, and I'm
Yeah.
like, how did I do that? Like that's kind of insane. Like,
I
so
think
anyways,
that
I'm just like reeling it back little by little.
I think there's actually some studies done, like no jokes. I read this somewhere, but milk, specifically milk in like flat whites and cappuccinos and lattes, has the same effect as an opioid. So it's activating the same receptor in your brain as like heroin or like like any sort of opioid. It activates the same receptor, and so does cheese. So milk and cheese are like basically heroin, legal heroin,
Well,
basically.
well, screw me. I guess we're just going to this podcast and we're like, all right, first things first, you're on heroin.
Yeah,
Like let's reel you back.
but this is
Yeah, I don't know.
I do like it because I'm definitely the same. Like I go through phases where I yeah, I do feel like I get addicted to the taste of milk. Specifically milk. It very rarely happens with like cheese or butter or
Yeah, me
something.
neither.
But I agree with you. And I've actually started going weaning myself off milk again. When I say weaning myself off, I tend to not have it like in the week. I'll have like a flat white as a treat on the weekend if I go to my favorite coffee shop or have
That's
coffee
what I
with.
should do. Damn it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but then you have to, then I mean it's getting used to drinking like black coffee again. I must say I've
Okay, so
actually
I have a
started.
question for you. Can I have a question for you about the
Yeah,
black coffee?
yeah.
Okay, so like my stomach historically has always been like not into having coffee by itself. The
Mm,
milk is kind of the thing that makes me less jittery, like my
mm-hmm.
stomach doesn't hurt as much. And I've gone through phases where I've actually like I went through like a finals week and I actually cut out caffeine and coffee altogether, which is
Wow.
crazy. But like I don't know, like so like if my stomach can't handle something in like its pure form, like a black coffee, does that mean that like maybe I just like should stop or like,
Uh,
because that's where the milk comes in to help.
yeah, definitely. I've heard, in fact, so many people have messaged me before and they've said that they can't drink black coffee because of the exact same thing. And
Really?
yeah, so what I would say, well, that's why the bulletproof is nice first thing in the morning, because the fat
Yeah.
obviously stabilizes the caffeine in your system, but
Hmm.
potentially it could be like a mycotoxin problem. So it could be basically shitty coffee. Not that I'm saying you buy shitty coffee, but it could be mold in your coffee. So there's certain black coffee that when I drink it, when I go to like a friend's house, for instance, and it's like instant coffee, or it's not
Oh
like
God,
locally,
no.
yeah. But sometimes it actually could just be the mold in the coffee that's causing that. Because coffee definitely has small amounts of mold in it. Like there's no doubt
I
about it.
have,
But
yeah, and we've talked about that, but just to like kind of, I guess, put more on that, like it does matter what kind of coffee you drink, right? Like I've always recommended because of the mold of like highly processed brands. Like if you get like one of the biggest brands like Starbucks, Lazazo, like
mm,
any of those beans that you get that are just mass produced that like have like there's obviously no roast date on them. There's just an expiration date in like 2 years.
yeah.
You're going to get you can't avoid the amount of mold that's actually in those huge processed ones. So my
Mm,
recommendation is whenever we go somewhere, especially in Amsterdam, like we found a coffee roaster local, and we literally could go and see a roast date that was
mm,
like the day of or like the day before. So if you can get fresh organically roasted, not even actually, don't even worry about organic. If you can get local roasted coffee where you are, I think that's half the battle. If you can get organic, great. Right now, I actually bought a $20 bag of coffee. My God, don't know why. It's organic and it is the, oh my gosh, what is the mushroom brand?
Four Sigmatic.
Yes, I got the organic coffee for
Mm,
Sigmatic with chaga and lion's mane in it. Okay.
nice.
I don't know that I believe in those things actually like helping because they're like, it's brain power or whatever. And like, maybe they are. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just got like a little bit more jittery from this coffee because it was like stronger, I think. But like, that's organic. Like, is that
But
okay to
here's
eat?
here's the thing though. So
Yeah.
that coffee is already ground, so it's pre-ground. So
Yes.
there's more chance of pre-ground coffee having mold in it. I hate to say it, because you're grinding the coffee, so
Yes.
it's going through another process. The surface area is getting increased. So
Oh
that's
gosh.
why, like, no doubt about it, if you can buy whole beans as well,
Yeah.
it
And
just
I usually
makes,
do. Like all my
yeah,
espresso is
that's what I
whole.
thought.
Like I put it in the freezer, I grind it.
Mm,
Like we have a very specific process for like the
mhm.
coffee routine we follow. And then for some reason I saw this at like the store and I was like, "Oh, I've been wanting to try lion's mane." And like it didn't even occur to me that it was ground. You know, like it didn't even occur to me. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to blow through this, like whatever. It's organic, it's $20. It must be like high-end shit." And now
Yeah,
I'm just like thinking about it and I'm like, I fooled myself. Like
you just played
I didn't even
yourself.
follow, yeah, I didn't even follow like my own advice or what I follow. So I will say though, like the ground coffee, because I had when we got back to the US, I didn't have I basically just didn't have like a local roaster
Mm,
in mind for San Diego. And so I started like now I'm like thinking, I'm like, maybe it's like the coffee that's ground that's kind of like messing with me. Maybe it's not even the milk. Maybe it's just like this ground coffee that I'm drinking where it's just like you think it's organic, but that doesn't mean anything.
yeah, it could
Dang,
be.
Josh.
It could be, but then again, it's the only way to find out is just to play around and test. And but
Hmm.
I fall into that trap all the time. It's like when you see organic,
Yeah.
you just your brain just automatically goes, oh, this is good for you. Like, oh, let me buy this. It clearly clearly something it's clearly something they're doing is a good thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't label it organic. But I know it's so sketchy. Like the line between organic, non-organic, even like grass-fed, grass finished. It's like what? Like, how do
I
you
can
even
tell
know?
you, so I can tell you what like the label organic is. So that's basically less, and hopefully not using like pesticides that are harmful, like glyphosate or glyphosate. Why
Hmm.
can't I say the word? Like I have it in my head how it's written. But anyways, that is like used by like Bayer, Monsanto, and that is sprayed all over the US on food, all over the world on food, right? That's not organic. And then what happens is like that toxic chemical runs off, there's runoff into like the water. And so that's why like I don't drink tap water. I don't think anyone should, drink tap water. It's not because, like naturally this water is like probably fine to drink. It's more that like I'm worried about the things that are from runoff from like the pesticides we spray in our food that actually go into the water,
Yeah.
right? So that's
Yeah.
like where like that comes from. It's not like I'm like, oh, I'm too good for tap water. It's like, no, like I just don't want to drink toxic chemicals that are linked to cancer, and they're
Mm.
known carcinogens that have been used by the big food and agriculture industry,
Yeah.
right? So it's it's really hard. So on the other hand, you're like, oh, this is organic coffee bean. So that means they're not spraying it, with like extra like glyphosate. Oh my gosh, I need to like look up this word, how to say it, because it's literally gonna drive me like nuts.
Glyphosate.
Yes, glyphosate, I guess.
There we go.
But yeah, it's like a known carcinogen, right? Like they have this
Mm,
back and forth where like people are advocating for like Bayer Monsanto to stop using it
mm,
and spraying their crops because it's a known carcinogen. So it's just I think that like where are these beans coming from? Are these beans probably coming from like Nicaragua or some random country in South America? How do I know they're not spraying my food? Like, are you
mm,
there? Or is the
mm.
four sigmatic person there watching the food or like the coffee beans not be sprayed? Like, and it's a mass produced product. So like
Mm.
honestly, like when something's labeled organic, I'm like, maybe that's how it was treated since it arrived in the US, because I'm
Yeah.
calling BS on
But
that.
that
Yeah.
that's a good point because honestly, I swear, like if everyone just bought local, like a lot of
Yeah.
problems would be solved. Because, like you said, when you're in Amsterdam, I go to my local coffee shop here, which is I think it's Lot 61. I go to
Yeah.
it's on Kinkerstraat, and I go there. I can see the roasting machines with my own two eyes. Okay, coffee beans can only be grown like in select areas of the world. I understand that. So
Yeah.
the tropics and things like that, but that's cool. But where it gets roasted matters. So although Lot 61 doesn't advertise mold free, I definitely don't get the jitters from it. Whereas if I go to like my friends in The Hague and I have coffee at them, I don't change anything. All I have is different coffee and I feel pretty shitty afterwards, which tells you that obviously the mass produced coffee, there's something going on there. But
Yeah.
the point is that if you buy local, I was thinking this now before we hopped on this call. I messaged you and I said I was busy eating. I had a steak and so a bit of avo. And the steak that I bought from Albert Heijn was from South America. And I was thinking to myself,
Oh, yeah.
I actually think like I just thought to myself afterwards, I was like, why would Albert Heijn be promoting? Why would Albert Heijn not want to sell like local Dutch ribeyes? Like I don't understand. Is there a reason behind that? I would love to know. Actually, it's
Well, I
so
would
interesting.
Well, you have to remember too, like the Netherlands is the number one meat supplier for Europe, right? Like they have the most, they're number one. So that's why it's so interesting to me too, because I would be there and I'd look at a steak and I was like, why is it coming from Uruguay? And then we have Trader Joe's here in the US where they sell a steak that's from Uruguay, from Australia. And I'm like, I don't want to eat something that was shipped all the way across the
Mm,
world, right? Like, how
mm,
does that make any sense? Like, you're using more emissions to get the steak over here. Like, it's so important the way like you vote for your mouth. And I recently talked about this on a post with like my steaks I was eating because you can really taste the difference. One, when you eat a steak that's coming from really far away versus one that's like raised right here in Idaho, for example, right? Like I'm not saying between like the grass fed, grain fed, I'm just saying like how far they come. But it's so weird to me too, because there's plenty of cattle here as well. Like you are saying, like in Amsterdam, there's not a shortage of cattle. You're the number one producer. So I actually want to talk to someone and ask, like, why why the heck it's like that.
Mm.
Because like to me, I'm just like, I'm not getting the connection of why they do that. Like this, help me out. Like that doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. Well, I mean, speaking of, I mean, people probably gathered, but I'm back in Amsterdam now.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
Oh my gosh, tell me. So Josh went back to Amsterdam after spending time in South Africa, but he went back during Storm Eunice. Um, Eunice, so funny how they name them like after people.
It's like an old,
Um,
like an old, I can picture this person being like an old lady, like just sitting, drinking tea,
yeah.
cafe, Storm Eunice.
Oh yeah. So tell me, like, how did your flight go? How was, that Schiphol airport, literally Skippel, however you say it, there's not a lot of options there for food as I've
Yeah,
encountered. So tell me.
it was actually rather pleasant.
Oh,
I flew at midnight in South Africa, so I took off at midnight. If I could fly at midnight or like late in the evening every time, I wouldn't mind flying, because like as soon as I got in the plane, I was so tired that I couldn't even think of like the airplane food. All I wanted to do was just sleep. So I just slept, and I probably
wow.
slept for like 7 hours. It's an 11-hour flight. So I slept for like seven
What?
hours, woke up. I took like a little packet of biltong with me as a snack, and that was like my breakfast. And I had black coffee like 3 hours in, and that was it. And it was actually really, really pleasant. And I must say,
Wow.
when I touched down, like Schiphol and Amsterdam, it's like a completely different place from when I left. Because when I left,
Yeah.
obviously it was like mid lockdown. You know how it was. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Everyone's out, even though the weather's really shitty. It feels like a completely different place. Like it's just amazing to see everyone moving about. And like on the 25th of this month, so Feb, they're planning on like scrapping all the restrictions, which is going to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not going to change the weather, but at least it's going to make it a little bit more bearable. You know what I'm saying? But you're right. Like Schiphol itself, there's not many options for like decent food. You know what I miss the most is like when I was in South Africa with my mom and with my friends and stuff. It's similar to America in the way like you can go to, I don't know, you can go to most restaurants and order like a big omelet with like a shitload of bacon, cheddar, avo, all of these things. When as soon as you come to Europe, there's so few places where you can get like American food or like South African food. You can't just go to a place and say, "Can I have an
Yeah.
omelet?" Because they're going to give you like two little poached eggs, some like drizzle, balsamic drizzle, and a piece of toast. You know that's your breakfast. It's like no ways. I don't want that.
No, no, that's so. Remember when? So we used to go to this restaurant called Box Social in the Plantage, and we would go there so often. But like, I remember ordering sides when I was with you one time, and they were like thick cut bacon, and like I literally, and this is like not a dig. This is just like Europe, and so like in Idaho and America, even in California, when you order like thick cut bacon, it's thick, right? And so like I literally am like I was trying to find where I could actually get thick cut bacon with my breakfast, and I never actually found it because it would always come back super thin. And I'm like, this isn't really like
Yeah.
what you're advertising. So even if they do have it on the menu, like I'm well, you know how I am. I just order sides. Like
Mm.
I honestly like I just order sides. Like sometimes I don't even get eggs when we go out to breakfast because I'm like, yeah, I got eggs at home. Like it's fine. And I also don't know like the quality of eggs. So like I'll find myself getting like ham, like bacon, sausage, and like I'll just like eat those, for breakfast. Like I don't
Yeah.
care. But like I don't know, like there's something about Europe that's so different. And like they're much more like vegan and like vegetarian focused. Like a lot of the people I met there were vegan or
Mm.
vegetarian. But like also again, like I don't think people should do that if it's gonna like come at the cost of their health. Like if your
Mm.
health is the expense for doing that. Um, but yeah, that's so interesting. Like, so what's like the one thing that you miss? Is it just like getting like a meat omelet, or is it just like being able to just order whatever in large portions and being like, heck yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think a bit of both. Like, be super blessed back home, you know, just to be
Mhm.
able to go to most restaurants and order a big steak and you don't have to pay insane like amounts to enjoy a
Yes.
decent like meal. You know what I'm saying? Like I just shelled out 40 euros for my food, and that's probably going to last me 2 days, maybe not even like a day and a half. So 40 euros, day and a half worth of food. But usually what I do, so if you are in Netherlands or in Europe, what I usually do, so I'm still getting back into the groove. I've only been here a couple of days now,
Yeah.
is you go online and you order a big frozen ribeye. It's pretty cost effective. And then you cut it yourself. So into like little steaks for the week, put them in the freezer. And then if you've got an air fryer, you can literally just take the frozen ribeye, chuck in your air fryer, and it comes out like near perfect, like every time. So that's a really
That's
cost effective
awesome.
way if you are living in a place like Europe to actually like get decent cuts of meat, because it's not so much it's just annoying. Like, because I have to buy like 5 packets of the Albert Heijn or the Jumbo steak
Yeah.
like things. And that lasts me like 2 days, especially with the way I eat. So it's a bit annoying
Oh,
actually.
yeah, yeah.
It's just
I
frustrating, you
wish,
know? It's like,
oh, yeah. And then if you go to like a butcher, it's like a lot more expensive, which is kind of
mm,
like frustrating, but I get it. But also, like when you're getting those steaks from the local grocery store in the Netherlands, like all of those steaks either come from South America or Ireland. I actually
mm,
thought the steaks I was eating from Yumbo, because we would just get like the single packets in like the gold packaging. Do you know what I'm talking about?
yeah, yeah.
So like you want to get those because those actually come from like Europe, but like
Mm,
we found out that they actually came from Ireland, like towards the end. But like, yeah, I agree with you. Like that's why like I feel like sometimes I can't just eat beef, especially here, because it's
mm,
not cost effective. Especially here. I told you it's like $26 a steak for like anything USDA prime. And then if you get USDA choice, yeah, it's like closer to like, $16. But that used to be the price I would pay for a top steak
mm,
from my butcher. So it's
mm,
it's totally just like it's inflation. It's like, I don't know. These meat prices are insane, Josh. So like for me, I'm just like, okay, like I just bought a house. Like I probably like want to like, budget. So for me, it's like more one steak a day or like half a steak in the morning with Taylor and then having like steak for dinner or
mm.
supplementing with chicken or something that's cheaper, like chicken and sausage and stuff, because those things are always cheaper. But then I'm
Yeah,
like, what is the quality that I'm getting?
yeah.
So there's like, I don't know, there's a give and take to everything you do. So you pay the extra price and then you know where it comes from and like like what additives are in it or not. Like, and then if it's treated with antibiotics, or you like cheap out and you pay less and then you're
Mm,
kind of like getting that. So it's like a give and take. But I will say to people always think that carnivore is so expensive. However, I've like done the math with like eating out and stuff. And it's actually more cost effective to have two steaks a day than it is to eat out once a day.
mm. What's
So
your, like, if you had to roughly guess, how much would you say you spend like in a given week? Or I don't know if you've done the math, like how much would you say you spend on just steak? Like not other stuff like coffee or, but I don't know. Is that like
I
too
would
random of a
say
question?
no, 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 that's not. Remember, it's two people. So I would say it's probably 100 per week, which is not bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's probably $100 a week. If I wanted to eat steak once a day,
Mm-hmm.
maybe twice a day. And that also depends on the quality. Like I
Yeah.
did find organic, locally American raised steaks at this one, like it's kind of like a Whole Foods, but it's not. And it was like $13. And so I just like bought like a bunch of them because I was like, and then we tried them and I was like, these aren't that good.
Yeah.
So they were organic, like grass fed, like locally raised. But
Hmm.
then like I was like, oh, they're $13. Awesome. And then I actually did that. So, anyways, I think it's about $100 per person if you want to eat. And that's like for all of your dinner for 7 days. Like that's not bad,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
if that's 70, like, and that's probably eating like a little bit more steak, but that's like if it's like I don't know, it's probably like $15 a meal, like per steak, depending on which, and I'm not talking about like the fancy cuts I'll get.
Mm.
Because like I'll probably eat those like way less now because they're so expensive. Like $26 a steak. I'm like, oh my good gosh. Yeah. But I think it's totally doable. And like once you stop eating out, you realize like, wow, I was getting reamed for
Yeah.
like just the price of eating out.
And I've gotten to the point now where I'm so content with just eating my steaks at home. It's almost like no matter where I go now, it's very rarely like I go to a place out and I'm like, wow, this steak is unbelievable. Like, because
Oh my God.
the
Yeah.
stuff you eat at home is so good.
Yeah.
There's so much of it, so you've just got enough to fill yourself with, and you cooking in things that you know are like animal based, or at least at very
Oh my
least,
God.
olive oil or coconut oil. You never know what they're cooking with.
No, I
and
know.
and you just have the opportunity to just enjoy it in your own home. So there's so many benefits. Like,
Totally.
it may seem boring, but it's just, I don't know, it's just a sign of, like, I guess, maturity,
Oh
just
no.
accepting accepting
I have a
what you
story for
like.
you about what you're literally talking about. Last time I was in Los Angeles, we went to like a conference there. And we went to like this Michelin acclaimed restaurant, right? Like I was like, oh, if we're gonna do something, like I want to do something like in downtown that, is good. So there was a like huge New York strip on the menu. And I was so excited. And I was with Taylor, one of his friends. And so me and Jordan, we both got the New York strip. And we were like, oh, yeah, like this is going to be sweet, like best thing on the menu for sure. We take a bite of this steak that looked great. And we both like look at each other. And he's like, I can't, I can't place my finger on what this taste is, but I hate it. And I was like, oh my God, dude, like I don't know what this is either. And then we keep taking a bite and it's just like it's kind of like building. And we're like, what the hell is this? Like, what is this cooked in? Like, I was like, oh my God, this is like a vegetable oil for sure. Like, this is like some type of like oil. Like, this is not butter. Like, this is not, it's just, it's so when you cook something that's not an animal fat,
Mm,
like it's just
immediate.
such a, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just not natural. Like it doesn't taste right.
No, I
And
agree.
so we call over the guy, and this is a Michelin acclaimed place. And so we call over the server, and I'm like, hey, like, like this is like, a nice steak, but what is it cooked in? He doesn't know. And I'm like, hey, can you please go find out? Like, I just want to make sure, like, I'm not like allergic to it, just so like they check. And I know you've used that strategy before
I would have
too.
just said, I'm straight up allergic to this shit.
Oh,
Take it
listen,
off my
listen. So
jacket.
listen. So he checks and he comes back and he says it's olive oil. And I was like, you're telling me you're a Michelin acclaimed restaurant and you're
Mm,
cooking a steak in olive oil.
mm.
Oh my God. I
And
was just like, this
yeah,
is insane. And it's a $60 steak,
oh my
Josh.
word. Oh my word.
$60. I like lost my shit. And I'm also the person where like I didn't want to waste the steak because at the end of the day, like this still came from something that I'm thankful it came from. Like it
Mm,
came from an animal
mm,
that gave its life for us. Like I don't want to waste that,
mm.
which is like me in my head. But like if it was anything else, like if it was something like Pop Tarts or something, I'd be like, I'm sending those back.
Oh
You
yeah,
know what I mean? Because I
definitely.
like, but I was just like, well, crap. Like, and so Jordan also didn't want to send it back because like I didn't want to waste the food. And it was just like, dude, like, and that was kind of like for me, I'm like, dude, I hate eating out.
Mm,
I forgot to check because I just thought it was a great restaurant. So I'm like, they know what they're doing. No one would ever do like cook it in olive oil. Like,
yeah.
what?
I've um I've got two strategies now for when I'm eating out or going
Yeah.
for coffee. So one, if you're ordering a flat white, make sure you say, is it a double shot flat white? For those people that like strong coffee, because sometimes they don't. So flat whites is supposed to have 2 shots of coffee in, like that's standard. So any place that doesn't do that doesn't know their coffee. And two, the
Yeah.
next thing I do is that when you're eating steak or eating out, just say like, hey, I'm allergic to vegetable oil. Can you cook this in butter? And like 9 times out of 10, they'll be like,
Yeah.
sure. Oh, that's cool. Like, that's all right. Don't worry about it.
Or just ask too. Like you can
Mm,
ask and find out and then be like, you know what? I'm going to get the butter roasted chicken.
mm.
Like, you know what I
But
mean? Like you can kind of look at the menu.
yeah, and here's the thing is that the problem with olive oil is that most restaurants get sold like
Yep.
pure organic like cold pressed olive oil is actually pretty okay. It's pretty okay to cook in terms of like it being non-toxic, and it's an okay oil to cook in. But restaurants get sold like huge tubs of olive oil that are actually, most of the time, it's like a 50%, it's a 50-50 mixture between olive oil and vegetable oil. So even though it's
Yep.
marketed as olive oil, it's probably got a shitload of vegetable oil in it, because like solid, good Italian cold pressed olive oil should taste like good. It shouldn't taste terrible, but I do get what you're saying. The thing is, most
Yeah.
restaurants definitely don't have like cold pressed olive oil because it's just too damn expensive. They get sold
And
like getting,
organic,
yeah,
right? Like they can't
yeah.
afford that. And there's like you're saying, like, so for every oil, like you're saying olive oil and stuff like that, avocado oil, etc., there's a certain percentage that is allowed of vegetable oils to be in those, like not contamination, cross
Mm,
contamination, I guess. There's a certain percentage allowed. Like if they actually, test it, that will be like, oh, this is still considered olive oil. So when people like, I've had these conversations where like, I was talking about how vegetable oils are bad, right? And I had one guy, this one comment, I think I sent it to you, and he goes, I feel like you're really like biased on butter. So like, should you be saying this? Like, why are vegetable oils bad? Vegetables are good for you. And I was like, first of all, if I was butter biased, like, are you saying that like I'm paid millions of dollars to promote butter? Like, do I have the ins with butter? Like the butter industry, is a butter industry like paying
mm.
me? I was like, dude, I wish. But
Yeah.
like, like I wish I had free butter from ever from Kerrygold. Hit me up. But like it was just such a funny comment because I'm like, dude, you're calling me bias when literally the people that are marketing the vegetable oils as healthy are the ones that are part of this big food machine, this big food industry where they want these
Mm,
vegetable oils in everything because that's how they make money.
mm,
So I'm just like, it's so ironic. This guy is like, just like so upset that like he thinks I'm butter biased
mm.
when really it's like he's been marketed by these companies that push these vegetable oils and everything.
I would have just said yes. I would
Yeah.
have just said straight up. I would have said some yes, I am, like, because it's a known fact that, well, maybe, okay,
People don't know that though. That's the
yeah,
thing.
I mean, we're probably gonna do a whole episode on vegetable oils,
Yeah.
but the thing is that yes, like eating or cooking in butter is going to be far better for you because it doesn't have a very high smoke point. So, and also the type of oil it is, it lends itself to being heated where it doesn't completely change the protein of the oil.
Yeah.
So 100%. I hope you just replied to him, yes.
Oh,
I am butter
I don't really
biased.
respond. I don't really respond to people anymore. Like if
Okay.
someone like there's this one photo that I have that went viral and there's like 5,000 likes on it. And it was
Damn.
like just no, like once you hear which photo it is, you'll be like, wait, what? It literally is me talking about the portions and me putting butter on my eggs, right? Like I've literally had so many people comment on it, Josh, that I'm just like, I don't even care.
That sounded a bit sexier than I thought. I'm putting butter on my eggs. Is that sounds
That's
like
not
something?
code.
Oh, that's not good.
No,
Okay.
this is not code.
I was
It
just
was
wondering.
me, like, it's not me, like, in the thing being like, oh, butter on my eggs. Yeah. No, no. It's just literally a picture of like in my Amsterdam apartment with like Taylor's plate and my plate. And there's like sausage and bacon, and there's like a little thin thing of butter on my eggs. You should see how many comments I get where it's like, you're not supposed to put butter on your eggs. You cook them in eggs. You should really learn to cook. And it's like,
Jeez, do
oh
people
my
not
God,
have
dude.
like what
I know,
do
but it's
people
like,
have not?
dude, I have you even looked at my page? Like,
Yeah,
I'm pretty much like a top chef at this point.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
think I know what I'm doing. Like, thank you. I just like a little extra butter on my eggs sometimes, which
Mm,
is fine. But it's just so funny. So I stopped like responding to these comments because I feel like it was just taking like a little piece of like my brain that I just like didn't even want to like deal with. And so I'm just like, okay, like, because this obviously this photo went viral and it has like a mind of its own. So I'm just like
Yeah.
getting all the weirdest comments, and it's just like, and people repost it on their keto and carnivore accounts like every day. And I'm like, what is happening here? This wasn't even like a big thing. This was just talking about portions of what I eat and like for breakfast. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
It's so
that's
it's
interesting.
so random, like what's just knowing, like there's certain posts I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, I know for a fact this is going to be a good Instagram post, and it just gets like no traction. And then the
Yeah.
most random fucking video or photo you post, it just gets everyone commenting on it. So it's definitely an odd game. But I agree with you, is that that's a good strategy, and I've used it a lot before. So if somebody posts something and I get triggered by it, I'm talking about myself, like everyone
Yeah.
gets triggered. Like somebody asks me something, or I don't know, their post, but it's normally a good rule of thumb just to like wait a day before you can respond. Like if it really triggers you, just wait a day,
Yeah.
sleep on it. And if you feel the need to respond. But like you said, it's almost so satisfying sometimes to just like the comments or whatever, and just leave it. Like don't even waste your mental
Yeah.
energy, because that person spent their entire day thinking of something to say to you when it just doesn't deserve your your like level of attention.
Totally. And like they don't need, like I don't need them in my head for free. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mm,
it's so crazy to me. And I think that at the end of the day, like, I do this with work a lot. I work with like a lot of different partners and like people who want things from me, right? And like I work with a lot cross-functionally with a lot of different people. And so like if there is some type of thing where someone says something a certain way to me, I'm at the point now, which ends up making me more successful and better at work, where I literally like nothing globs on. It literally like rolls off. Like if I'm talking to a business partner and they're just like, who knows, just like not having a good day or whatever, right?
yeah.
I just kind of like let it roll off of me, because at the end of the day, like I don't want to care about this. Like I actually care less. And then my performance is so much better. And like I'm based on like metrics and stuff too. So like I can actually have like tangible results of like what
Mm,
happens. Like I think I told you, like when I was leaving, like I stopped like my initial job in the US. I was leaving my initial job in the US. I knew I was leaving. So that actually went into practice and I cared a lot less. I was less responsive. I kind of like sat on things longer because I'm like, there's nothing urgent where someone's dying and they need my response, right? I'm not a doctor, right? Um, and so I was laughing because I ended up having the best quarter of my life performance wise right
mm,
before I left, because I didn't care anymore. Like the caring and like the stress of being like, oh my God, like if I don't do this, whatever, like once that fades away, you can operate at such a higher level.
yeah.
Like it's insane. So I
Yeah.
always give people that advice, like especially for what I do. And if you're metrics driven, like yes, you obviously care. You speak with, people and you show respect and everything. But what I'm saying is just fundamentally, you shouldn't care,
Mm,
because it's not going to serve you.
yeah.
And when you stop caring, that's when like you live probably your best life,
Yeah.
I think.
Or maybe, I mean, I think you do care, but it's not holding on to
Yes.
the like the comments itself or the person that they've sub, and 100%, like I'm a very empathetic person. I'm very sensitive, so
Mm,
I read into things like way too much. So
same.
it's always good to just take a step back, think about it like objectively, think about it from the other person's perspective. Dr. Gabor Mata, he has this thing about basically, gently dusting off the mind. So if something's like nagging at you or like niggling at you, you don't take like a you don't take a big like excavator and go in and figure it out, like balls to the wall, just jumping into your mind. You slowly but surely like dust away at the thing that is sort of like niggling at you, and eventually you sort of see how your mind is like made up, and that's cool, because not responding is one of those like ways of doing that, because it gives you time to process things without jumping in and
Yeah.
assuming something. Like for instance, like I've had in the past where like friends, like a friend won't message me or won't respond to me.
Yeah.
And I think this is like a deeply
I think
embedded.
everyone, by the way, everyone experiences that. I experience that too, because everyone lives on their phone, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, why are you like reading my text and not messaging me back? But yeah, go on.
Yeah. I just think it's also just a deep fear or a deep seated fear of like rejection on
Mhm.
my behalf. I know everyone's sort of got that fear, but I think I've got that fear maybe a little bit more than usual. And in the past, it used to like really bother me. Like when that happened, I would actually spend the whole day like ruminating, like, why is this person not mentioning me? What have I done? You know, it's not, it's not thinking about all the other possibilities that could have taken place. Like, is this person okay? Are they having a shitty day? You know, is their phone
Yeah.
lost? There's all these other possibilities. And the one that I'm focusing on is, what have I done to this person? So,
To
you
not
know,
get a response. Yes.
exactly. So
Yeah.
there
I've done it.
is, that's my default response. So knowing that, it helps me because when somebody does trigger me or something like that does happen, I just say to myself, okay, this is just past conditioning coming up. You're just feeling the past trauma coming up. Take it easy. Just, let it go. And that normally helps. I'm not saying it helps always, but it
No,
definitely
yeah.
helps most of the
I
time.
think it's like the let it go, like let it roll off you type attitude that helps people,
Mm,
because you really don't like, there's so many things going on in your life. And if you're distracted by people not responding to texts or how a business partner said something to you, right? Like it's kind of like, okay, well, that's cool. So I was just going to say, like, I would just let things roll off of you more. If you can let things roll off of you, and if you can, just be like, I accept that, XYZ could be happening to this person. Go have a workout, go distract yourself, like don't obsess, don't text other people about it. Like I find myself like, especially in like in girl groups, like when something happens or like someone doesn't respond or someone's rude to someone, right? Like they want to like take a screenshot and talk to someone else about it, and be like, hey, like, did I say something messed up? Like, what's going on here, for like the validation. And I hate when I do that. And yeah, it's just a practice every day. Like,
yeah.
doesn't matter. I need to like get back. Like, that's where like meditation, you probably were going to say this, but like meditation comes in, I think, with that.
I was actually going to say, I mean, that's too, I was actually going to say, like, you mentioned going to the gym or whatever. I think without a doubt, that's the best thing is like, if I'm
Yeah.
feeling something arising in me, like I need to, I don't know, I'm feeling anxious or this person hasn't responded in a way that I hoped, or just like go outside, get some exercise, do
Yeah.
something physical. Tony Robbins has that saying, fear is physical. Like
Yeah.
fear comes from your physical body. It doesn't arise from like thoughts or think. It may feel like that, but
Hmm.
oftentimes it's just a physical thing that you need to use your body in a way that affirms to your subconscious that you are strong. Like if you can go outside and walk, and if you can go lift a weight and you can run, whatever, that's every time you do that, you're reinforcing in your subconscious that you are strong, you able, you fit, you healthy. And therefore, like, what else is there to worry about? Like maybe this person, like maybe you did do something to this person unintentionally and it is like doing something, but in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter? Does it really warrant you sitting there and like thinking about it and like ruminating on it and worrying about them? It's probably not going to
Oh,
help.
yeah. Or like, do you think like if you really think that like one thing or like one thing of saying something weird is really going to ruin your friendship,
Mm,
then maybe it's like not that good of friendship. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like maybe that
100%.
doesn't serve you anymore if you're always like worried about what you're saying and like you can't have an argument. But the thing about like dealing with stress is um or just having a shitty day at work, whatever it is, or having an argument with a friend or a family member or whatever, like get outside and do a walk. That's like my like, I guess my, I don't know. I feel like that's like kind of like what you're talking about, like what I want to do for everything bad is like go outside and have a walk, because it immediately takes you out of the house. It takes you out of a situation into a different environment. And you're like looking around, you're like, wow, like I'm so thankful. Like even walking around in Amsterdam with like raining on me, it just takes you out of like your head. And
Hmm.
you're just like, you're walking, like you're conscious of cars, you're conscious of bikes, like you're like looking around, you're like seeing people, and it's distracting you. And it's like an immediate mood booster. So like for me, like if I could walk every day, like that's kind of the goal for me, is I like to walk every day. Like that makes me feel so good. And I recommend everyone does it. Like walks are free, like going on a walk is free. It's like if you have two legs at work and you
Yeah.
can go on a walk, go, because it is free. It's going to improve your mood, and you're never going to regret going on a walk. If you regret going on a walk, like there's probably something deeper going on. If you're like walking around,
Yeah.
you're like pissed off at everything, like, oh, fuck that cloud,
Yeah.
like then maybe something deeper is going on
Mm.
that needs to be explored, I guess. But it's just an immediate mood booster that
Yeah.
it's like a medicine. It's like a
You
daily
should
dose.
you should try, I've tried it once or twice. You should try a walking meditation. It's quite interesting.
Are you allowed to
But
do that? Like I didn't even know you were allowed. Like what?
yeah, so I mean, it's often misunderstood, but mindfulness itself and meditation there's many forms of it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things I'm passionate about is telling people, or helping people recognize that there shouldn't be a boundary between formal practice, so sitting down and for 10 minutes, and your everyday life. So you
Okay.
should take your meditation into your everyday life. So let's just say you making your pour over coffee or your Nespresso this in the morning. Like you should have the same level of awareness, like pouring the coffee, grinding the coffee, thinking about as you do when you meditate. So like a walking meditation is basically just a guided walk where you're walking, and someone, like I use Sam Harris's app, but he would speak to you and you'd be like, okay, feel your feet walking on the ground, notice the people, notice your reactions to the people as they look at you. Because when everyone walks, like sometimes I walk, like somebody will like look at you and you'll be like, what the fuck, like what's this guy looking at me for? And you get a bit self-conscious, but that is like a recognition of your own mind and what it's saying about you. He just looked at me. He's probably just wondering where I'm going, or making sure that I don't walk into him, but he's done nothing to me. So anyway, it's quite interesting. It might not be for everyone, but
Yeah.
I've found them pretty helpful, especially in a busy place like Amsterdam.
Oh my gosh. I will tell you, like I actually got really sad yesterday. Like so here's the thing, Josh. I like in terms of like processing trauma, and I'm not saying like, or just like processing things that happened to you, like I forget that I didn't really have time to like process leaving Amsterdam, process that journey not working out,
Hmm.
and like, coming back here. And although like so many exciting things have happened to me and I know it was the right move and everything, like I'm still deeply sad. And I shouldn't say deeply sad, but I'm still just like, it bugs me. Like, like I'm definitely sad about it. And I feel like we've been doing so much stuff and like just nonstop in San Diego, trying to live my best life and like go in that routine and have time off. And then going to Idaho and like buying a house so soon. And, it's just like go, go, go. And now I'm working again and stuff. So I feel like yesterday I just like came to a point where I was like, I am actually really sad. And the reason I'm sad now is because I haven't really had time to properly process like my dreams being crushed and like and leaving. And it's
Hmm.
really sad. And now that it's all open too, like there's part of me that's like, should we have stayed? And like I know we shouldn't have, but regardless, it's just you kind of just like think those things. And I feel like it's weird. Like, a month and a half later, I'm now processing it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
100% feel you, and I'm with you on that. It's so strange for me to come back as well, because like a big part of me just wants to go straight back to South Africa and
Yeah.
back where it's comfortable. It's comfortable back home. It's like it's it's just so easy there to buy my meat, go to my CrossFit gym that I love so much, all the people that I love there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like it's like, where's the most growth, going to be? Is it going to be in South Africa? This is for me now. I mean, is it going to be in South Africa, or is it going to be in Amsterdam? At the moment, it's in Amsterdam, and whether I
Yeah.
stay here or not long term, it doesn't matter. But I 100% agree with you. It's like, once I got all my things like sorted out here, so I got my, BSN numbers, all of these things work,
Yeah.
then you get to a stage where you start getting into the grind of the everyday, and then you start processing, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, like a lot has happened. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I 100% feel you. You just get to a point where but that's a really good thing, I think, because most people, their form of processing is just going out every Friday or whatever and getting absolutely wankered. And
Mm-hmm.
whereas you actually acknowledging to yourself, you're like, wow, I am sad, but I know that I've gone through a lot, and it's led me to a better place. I got a house now back in the States. Um, so I agree with you. It's processing is a very difficult thing, but I think, like, mindfulness and being mindful, it gives you the opportunity to do that, because it's, if you don't do that, then it just sort of like lingers there without you even knowing it. You know what I'm saying? And you just don't know what's actually really bothering you. So yeah, that's very
Yeah.
powerful.
I would say, like, I mean, sometimes too, like if you don't process something and you don't take time to like talk it out, like I think a lot of times therapy gets a bad rep because they're like, what is a therapist going to do that like I can't figure out on my own? But like sometimes it's just the simple action of talking about it. Like I brought it up to Taylor because I'm like, okay, I need to like talk this out to see if like that's really, what's going on. So if like you do have something that you're dealing with and like you don't maybe necessarily know that you're sad about it. Like here's the thing, like there's also like a persona that I have, which is it's genuine, it's myself, but like I'm very positive about things. Like even when things are really, really bad and like I'm stressed out of my mind, like when I was about to leave and just lockdowns and everything going on, like that was a very bad time for me mentally. But I was still like so positive about like what was happening and that, like this was like the right thing and everything that I think sometimes maybe that shows that like, oh, she's not actually struggling or going through a hard time because she's like stoked to get back to the States, like she thinks this is the right move and everything. So like this is like a positive thing. But I don't know, I would just say like if you have a something that like, you maybe don't know is bugging you, like talk to like your significant other, talk to a friend about it, like go to therapy and talk about it, because until you talk about it, you probably won't understand what's actually bugging you and you won't actually get down to the root of it. And a lot of times people act out, whether it's getting hammered all the time because like you don't want to deal with the trauma.
Mm,
We all know people like that are drunk 24/7. They have to get obliterated on the weekends. And that's kind of just how maybe they know to cope with things now, right? Or like maybe like your way is like it comes out and you're acting like rude to your partner or something, or being standoffish. Like for me, like I haven't slept the last 3 nights that well, like at all. And I usually just sleep like a baby. And so I'm trying to like figure out what's going on, what needs to be discussed
mm.
so that I can go back to sleep. Like for me, the sleep is so paired to anything I'm dealing with. So like I need to talk it out and like understand and get it out so then I can go to sleep at night and like have good sleep. So I don't know if that's also the case for you, but I feel like the sleep and dealing with things is like huge as well, and just talking it out.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you mentioned therapy. I never ever thought I would ever in my life go to therapy, because I was always this, like, exactly like you said, I had this persona that I'd built up over the years, especially on Instagram, as this biohacker, as this self-improvement dude who puts quotes up on Instagram all the time, knows what he's talking about. And then in 2019, when I went through a really, really like terrible time in my life, both health wise, emotional wise, spiritual wise, I was just so lost, and I lost somebody close to me. And I had family issues, and I went to a therapist. And what was interesting was speaking to her. She worked a lot with the body, so it was very somatic. So we did a lot of like putting your hand in your heart, things like that. But the minute I started speaking about the thing that was actually bothering me, I just started crying. It's like as soon as
Oh,
I mentioned
yeah.
the thing that was bothering me, my body, that's what I was saying to you earlier, is that fear is physical. I
Yeah.
had a bodily reaction. It's not like your brain decides to just process it more. No, you start to cry. That's a form of like release, and that's completely okay. It's like I feel like especially for males growing up today, there's a misconception that men, men shouldn't cry and whatnot. Bullshit. It's like males often have a very hard time because of that, because they think that they have to put up this facade and they have to be the one that is strong for the other, or so be it. But one of the best things you can do if you're stressed or you're worried or you're processing things is to just get back into your body, whether that is going to gym, whether it's just putting your hand in your heart and like literally feeling your heartbeats. It's like feeling your heartbeat is like a reminder that you're just this human, you're just this like piece of flesh with a heart
Mm-hmm.
that was given to you at birth. Like this heart is a gift. It's literally a gift. It beats nonstop. It beats 100,000 times a day. It beats even when you sleep. So if you wake up and you're stressed, put your hand in your heart, feel it, think about what you're grateful for, and I can almost guarantee you that like moments of gratitude will just transport you to another place. Because
Yeah. And then go for a walk and then it'll be like
and then go
double.
for a walk. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Wait, you did say something. I think what you're talking about, like strong, like even women, even just people in general, I think they want to be strong and they don't want to show weakness or
Mm,
vulnerability just because maybe that's not, I don't know, it's not like a normal thing, but I do think it's still genuine and true. But you can be strong and still have emotions and feel things and cry and like I think it's just such a bummer because imagine if like we were all true to ourselves and we weren't putting up these walls and like not allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. Imagine like how much more maybe like people would get along, especially people with different beliefs, different political views. Um, I don't know. There's something about that, and like I will say even further, like there was one thing that I added to like, the February reset that I thought would be helpful is just like compliments are free. Like every day, like give a compliment to someone. Like it doesn't cost you anything. And you're literally just like making someone feel better who you truly, are complimenting for
mm-hmm,
something.
mm-hmm,
Like I think those little things are just so like we're all like in our heads, like especially with like the new generation and everything too. Like we're all obsessed with like what we're doing on Instagram. Like, what is this person doing? Comparing myself, instead of like complimenting that person, instead of supporting a friend's business, instead of supporting a friend's podcast, like there's so many things that are free that you can do to like help each other that they don't cost like you anything. So like don't hold back, compliment people.
mm.
Like I think it's so nice.
I've been practicing this thing that I
Oh
learned
gosh.
from. No, it's a good thing. It's so Joseph Goldstein is another prominent mindfulness teacher in the States. I think he lives in Boston, but he has this thing that he calls instantaneous gratitude, or I might be butchering that, but what it is that when you feel the urge to do something for somebody, don't wait, do it straight away. So
Hmm.
the other day, I was still in South Africa. I was driving my car, and this is not to like toot my own horn here, but I was driving my car and I saw this guy on the side of the road, and he looked so out of it. He looked so bad. He just had no shoes on. It was like 30 degrees Celsius. It was hot. And I was driving past him, and I had this thought in my head. I was like, just remember what Joseph Goldstein said. So I turned around, I went to the nearest garage and I got like a Coke, a packet of chips, even though that's the furthest thing from keto or carnivore friendly. But you know what? I didn't give a
He
shit.
doesn't
I just,
care.
no, he doesn't care. Got him a Coke, got him a packet of chips, rushed off. This took like 30 minutes out of my morning and I was already late, but something in me just did it. And I felt
Yeah.
so good because do you know how easy it could have been? Past me would have been, oh no, I'll get him something if I see him again. Like, what are my chances of me seeing that guy again? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
we say these things to ourselves. Like we'll just do that later on. We don't need to do it now. We're too busy, bullshit. You're never too busy to do something for somebody else and to actually instantaneously on the spot be a good person. Like you said, the compliments are free. It's like you don't wait until you give somebody a compliment. You just do it in the moment because you truly are grateful for them doing something. So I don't know. It's a little challenge. It's a little thing that I've been doing.
I
It's
like
kind of
it.
it's kind of scary because you just push yourself further and further every time. you like you're like, oh, I think I should go tell that person that they look really good today. And you
Yeah, yeah.
like start walking towards them and you're like, oh shit, you're doing this. Hey, you look really good today. And they're like,
Oh
wow.
my gosh. No, but like those are the things too where like you can make someone's day. Like you don't know what kind of day someone's having. Like if you see
Mhm.
someone, like I like that. Like don't hold back. Like if you want to say something nice, like say it. Like any interaction too that like I have on Instagram, like usually like if I compliment someone or they compliment me, like it's just a good interaction. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just a good interaction and you just know that like there's people out there that like genuinely like are happy for other people. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like they're genuinely like, hey, like I really enjoy this or whatever. But I don't know. I would just say like if you want to send someone a message, like even if you were like, oh, I don't think they're gonna see it, like just do it. Don't even think about it. If it's something nice that you're doing for someone, what Josh you're saying, do it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're not what's gonna happen? They're gonna like murder you for saying something nice to them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Seems a little far-fetched, but I will say that like I need to be careful because I'm also very empathetic. And when my thing is like when I see someone that's homeless, like I always try to give them money or something and like too generous. And then Taylor's like, what are you doing? He's like, they don't need $50. Like, what? Like, he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it just feels better. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm also one of those people where like, I'm very easily like,
Yeah.
swayed to do something, especially like for homeless people. Like, I literally like cry,
Mm.
depending on who I see. Like, I cry when I see grandpas. Like, what is up with that? I don't know. But like, it's just, they're so cute.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just had to be kind of careful, like, like for your situation, because like I would be stuck and like giving people stuff down the street. You know what I mean? Like I would like maybe not even make it to work that day or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Definitely. It's more of like it's like you see certain people and they elicit like a really strong
Yes.
reaction in your body again. And that's when I know, okay, something needs to be done. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you live in South Africa, if I had to do that every single morning, firstly, I wouldn't get to work and I would be broke because I'd just be giving
Yeah.
everyone everything that I own.
Yeah.
So 100% agree with you. And you can't save the world. You cannot. You can only do the most amount that you can do for the people that you probably care about the most or the charities that you
Mm-hmm.
care about the most. It's not about giving to everyone. And we live in an age where social media has made us so connected. So we think we need to be worrying about everything. A war going on in freaking the Ukraine, Russia, people dying in Somalia, people, do you know what I'm saying? Your
Mm-hmm.
brain cannot process all of the suffering that's going on in the world. So rather focus on the few projects and organizations and people that you care about most to the exclusion of everything else. And
Yeah.
that's how you're going to make most of the difference, because you just simply cannot save the world by yourself.
I would argue, I'm going to drop someone in here that, Jordan Peterson, what he says is that fix yourself before you try to change the fabric of the world,
Mhm.
which is so important because, like, I'm probably even less. Like, if you're not happy or if you need to like fix yourself or you need to like work on yourself, focus all your attention on that.
Mm.
You then being angry about a social issue or angry about a political situation or whatever, like work on yourself first. Maybe at that point, you'll understand that you can't control the world. You can't end all the suffering in the world, right? And like you're mentally going to be in a better place. So I would just say, like, before you go and try to fix other people and fix other things in the world, like look inward and fix yourself.
Mm.
Because like those are things also that sometimes people use to distract themselves and make them feel validated that even though they're a shitty person, they're going to go and help with a certain effort of something to make them feel better about themselves, when really you should just, like, if we had people that were like more mentally and like just more sound, like, and just had their traumas healed and everything, like think about how much of a better place it would be.
Mm.
Like people would be nicer, like people would be like, oh, I'm so sorry, like I had this happen to me, so like I'm trying to deal with it right now and I appreciate you doing that, versus like someone like going off on you and being like F you or like whatever, so like people need to heal themselves. And if you're more concerned with other things and you have stuff going on, take a break from that stuff.
Mm.
Look inward, see what's up.
Mm-hmm.
You'll probably learn a lot.
Mm.
I wanted to mention Jordan Peterson. I'm reading his second book. Well, I guess I read like Order and Chaos, the 12 Rules for Life. And now I'm reading the 12 More Rules, like Beyond Order by him. And it took me a while to like actually open it and start reading, because it was just such a monumental like moment in my life, because I enjoyed the first book so much, even though
Yeah.
I had to look up so many words.
Yeah.
Like I have a college degree and I still was like, what does this word mean? I'm
Oh
like,
no,
oh my God, you're so fancy.
he's prolific. Yeah, it's a
Yes,
bit too
yes.
much actually sometimes.
Yeah. So I had to like look up one of the words in the first rule. And I was like, okay, because it could go either way, like what this meant. But the thing is that I didn't know the level of what was happening to him over the last 3 years, because you just hear tidbits like,
Mm.
Jordan Peterson is in an asylum, or he's in a, induced coma in order to deal with certain things. And you don't know the whole background. And he explains everything going on with his family the last 3 years, like from his wife's, breast cancer, or sorry, not breast cancer, to her kidney cancer, to what's going on with Michaela, like to what's going on with him and certain drugs he's on. So like he explains all that. And I was like, dude, like it like put me in check like real quick. I was just like, your perspective is so like, yeah, it just is an awesome book. So if you can read like his books, no matter who you are, like they're not geared towards one person. It's literally just taking responsibility for you, your life, who you are, and the best way to navigate it. So I highly recommend any of Jordan Peterson's books.
Well, I'm not too sure I can top anything else on Jordan Peterson. So I think that's probably a good good place to wrap up.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, I'm definitely going to do a walking meditation. People should look into their coffee. So
Mm.
like if you're doing ground coffee, try to get local and try to get whole beans, like as much as you can. I'm probably gonna get rid of that coffee now that I talk to you, because I'm like, dude, there's no way. Like
Mm.
anyway, but
So
yeah, but this has been great.
yeah, buy again, like they buy local. It should be just
Everything.
like everything, and that just makes a huge difference. And I will definitely download Jordan Peterson's new book. I'm a bit scared. His big words and fancy paragraphs scare me. he's
It's
he's
it's
he's
easier to unpack than his first book. That's what I will
okay.
say.
Okay, so maybe
Yeah.
he's come to the conclusion that his first book was a little bit, so like a lot of the things that he said he probably could have said in a lot simpler fashion for most people to understand, but I get where he's coming from. He's an academic,
Hmm.
but I'll
Yeah.
definitely give his latest book a read for sure, and then I'll get back to you on that. Look forward to discussing it on the next episode.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And just know that this one is more in the creative and getting in touch with different things that he realized was lacking in his first book, or
Hmm.
like that wasn't hit on. So I think you're like reading someone that's been through a lot and then realized, hey, like this is the meaning of life. Or not really,
Hmm.
like, do you know what I mean? Like these are the important things too.
Yeah,
Like don't forget.
he's actually had the ultimate test. It sounds like it. So he wrote his first book, which is amazing, but it sounds like the universe just decided, hey, you need to be tested, and there it is.
There it is. It's always near me. But yeah, just I don't know. For anyone like reading anything too, like
The camera
we
wasn't on you.
also
Just show the book again.
oh, sorry.
No.
So yeah, it's the black book. The white book was the first one. Um, but yeah, like I don't know, it was just really interesting. Side note, like we're also like I'm rereading the Bible right now, which is like kind of inspired from Jordan Peterson. Like I don't find myself like a super super religious person, but because I want to reread it for like the stories, like the very basic stories of which we base so much off of in humanity.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, and I got a version where like it explains like what is happening, and it's also in like the newest version, so it's not like ye old or like ye
Yeah.
have faith in me or something. It's more just like in like modern like how we speak.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting because that's something I never thought I would like do. So
Oh no,
interesting.
there's absolute timeless lessons in the Bible. I probably should also do that, or at least go like brush up on the main stories in the Bible that have shaped a lot of. I said we were going to end, but I just want to say something. I've said this
Yeah,
before,
go.
but in the Bible they speak about the forbidden fruit.
Oh, that's all I've been reading. I started at the beginning, so yeah, tell me.
So there we go, forbidden fruits. I mean, for those that are meat based, it's in the Bible. Don't go and eat the apple because it'll kick you out of ketosis. So that's why it's called the forbidden fruit, because we were meant to eat meat and that's the most optimal. So I'm just saying it is
Okay,
in the
wait. Okay, I just want to say to you though, I read a page and it was like, you shall not be eating meat, like rather than eating the something like the meat that it provides you, like you shall now do grain and live off the land. And
Oh.
I was like, is this translated right? Is there vegan propaganda like in the friggin' Bible now? I'm like, what just happened here? I have to like bring that page and like read it
Yeah.
to you. I think in the next, we'll like open with that in the next one because like I'm cracking up reading this. And I just
Yeah.
went as like a carnivore, like meat-based person. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, this is BS. Like, this is BS. No one said that. That's like where I draw the line, right? Not like
Mm.
walking on water, not any of that. Like, it's more
Yeah.
like I'm like, well, no, they had to eat meat because like that was the thing.
Exactly. So a lot of the stuff in the Bible is definitely up for interpretation as well, as
Yeah.
obviously some say, oh, homosexuality, they say homosexuality is not okay in the Bible, but then some say they don't say that. So it all depends how you interpret things. And
Mm-hmm.
but the main stories, I do understand the main messages and things are very powerful, and especially around Jesus and what he was teaching and things. But 100% I agree with you is
Oh
that
yeah, it's so deep though. You have to like tear it, you have to like pull it
mm,
apart to be like, they're not saying that like the forbidden fruit thing, like they're not, they're like, it has nothing to do with like if it was fruit or something else. It has to do with like knowledge and like the power that like the knowledge brings you and stuff. There's just like
mhm,
so many things, and it's not sometimes about the literal story that happens. It's like what it's actually trying to convey. But yeah, there's always like, there's always bad people, there's always good people that, are in different types of religion, like I've said this to someone recently, like bad people exist everywhere and
mm,
good people exist everywhere. Like no matter what your belief is, no matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, no matter if you're atheist or Christian or Jewish or whatever, like there are bad people that exist in all of those things. So it's not fair, I think, to label a group or a person or something like as being bad because you're like, no, like there's still good people that exist there or vice versa. So I
yeah,
don't know. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, yeah. So I guess we'll wrap it up there on Bible talk.
yeah, great episode. That was fun. I enjoyed
Thanks,
that.
everyone. Yeah. Have a great day. Go for a walk next time you're in a bad mood.
Boom.
Peace. Wait.
Peace.
One more thing I wanted to say to you is just Josh says, your shirt says, train by day, Joe Rogan by night, all day.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm
God, I love
representing my
it.
boy.
I love it.
Cheers, y'all.